Okay, what's up folks? We're back with another episode of Ask the Skinny Guy Savior. I promise I'm going to try and keep these under a minute this time. I've been adding on additional four-minute rants to the last batch of questions. So for those who are just joining me, welcome. This is Vince Delmonte, and the purpose of the show is to give you short, concise answers, 60 seconds or less, and these questions are coming right off my Facebook fan page, okay? So we're addressing a series of questions on training splits, workout advice, program protocols, basically things that have to do with program design. And a lot of these principles can be applied to fat loss and muscle building. So this is the fundamental knowledge that you guys need to be able to analyze a program, to be able to design a program, and to have confidence in what you're doing. So let's get into it. First question comes from Mike Dipanier. Mike says, "Hey Skinny Vinny." I don't mind if you guys continue to call me that, that's totally fine. Which combinations of muscle groups should be trained together in the same session or in the typical week starting Monday? How would you split muscle groups into your schedule? Thanks in advance for your answer. So Mike, every program split has advantages and has disadvantages. The idea is to exploit the advantages and minimize the disadvantages. So I'll give you an example. First thing first, there is no right or wrong way to create a split. And I'll give you an example. Some people say, you know, you should do push exercises one day, so shoulders, chest, and tries, which is great. The only problem with that split, the pros is that you're gonna be stimulating a certain part of your body, you know, all the pushing exercises within one workout, but by the time you get to your triceps, they're already so pre-fatigued that you're not able to use enough stimulus on your triceps to get them to grow. So a pro is that you concentrate all the blood into one area of the body. A negative is that you're not, you know, the muscles that come later on the workout don't see as much improvement. Let's look at the reverse split. If you flip this upside down, you do, you know, triceps, then shoulders, then chest. Now we're able to train our triceps when they're fresh. Chest gets de-emphasized, put to the end of the workout. That would be an intelligent way to periodize that kind of split. So if you were to do a push split, a push-pull split, so one day you're doing chest, shoulders, triceps. Let's say you do that for 4 weeks. In the next 4 weeks, flip it upside down. Does that make sense? So you wouldn't stay on the same split for an extended period of time because you're going to create imbalances within your body. So the idea is to look at the pros and cons of a split and to switch them up within predetermined periods of time. And that way you minimize the negatives and you exploit the positives of each program design. So every split has pros and cons, and the idea is to skillfully organize them into a system that allows you to experience all the benefits as you go through. Does that make sense? Sweet. Tons of questions on program design. Ultimately, guys, you guys really need to invest in Live Large TV. I think I mentioned this last time, but over 10 hours of teaching from a science standpoint on every variable that goes into hypertrophy program design. And this question here I answered, I think, over 30 minutes on a whiteboard. And I looked at tons of different splits, and we analyzed the pros and cons of all these different splits. And then you're able to understand, well, there's really nothing wrong or great about any of these. They're just different, and I need to use them all. So the take-home message for you, I guess I could have said this in one sentence, is use them all. So next question goes to Moshe. Moshe says, "Hey Vince, what are your thoughts about doing supersets every exercise every time you work out?" Supersets are good if you're looking for a time-efficient workout. Supersets are bad if you're, you know, focusing on, well, you know, actually I shouldn't say that because I wouldn't say they're bad, but let's say you're doing more of a central nervous system based workout where you're trying to create neuromuscular gains, which is basically another way of saying strength training. So if you're trying to get strong, I wouldn't have a lot of supersets in there. So, you know, you might come into the gym and your workout may just be bench press, and you might do 8 sets of 2 to 3 reps, and that's the workout. There's no supersets because you're focusing on just increasing neuromuscular adaptation. So it depends on your goal. For protocols for training effects like muscular endurance, hypertrophy, and functional hypertrophy, I say supersets certainly will have a lot of, we do a lot of supersets in our programs, but when you start going into more strength-based training, you're not gonna have as many supersets, if any. Next question goes to Colin Smith. Colin says, there's a lot of confusion on how often to switch up your program. And then when people realize their program is becoming stale, they do not know what factors to manipulate. So this is not just an off-topic, this is just not off-topic to me, but other people as well. So the question is how often do you switch up your program and what factors should be manipulated when you do to switch? Guys, you guys are just setting me up to plug Live Large every single question here. Again, if you really want to learn this, I've got 10 hours of in-depth teaching, science-based teaching on why we select every variable, how long to train for, which exercises, rest periods, sets, reps, duration, tempo, like what's the science behind all those variables? You're right, these are amazing questions. So again, it's all about periodization and organizing these based on what your goals are. So, you know, if you look at the training continuum, you can have what's known as metabolic adaptations, which would be another way of saying size training, or you can have neuromuscular adaptations, which is known as strength training. So again, it depends on what end of that continuum you're on. Let's just look at reps. Generally, lower reps are going to stimulate more neural gains. Higher reps are going to stimulate more metabolic changes. So again, you have to ask yourself, what's my goal? So a better question would have been to say, Vince, this is my goal. What should I do? In terms of switching your program, I'll just quickly answer this. It depends on your training age. The longer you've been training, the more frequently you need to change your program. So for, you know, an advanced athlete, like you know, when I was going to Charles Poliquin certifications, he talked about, you know, Michael Jordan would have a different workout literally every time he went to the gym. His body was so highly adaptive. He was such an insane, such a unique specimen that the guy needed a different workout every single time to continue to experience adaptations. That's on one end of the continuum. Then you've got elite bodybuilders, you know, pro bodybuilders who they probably change up their programs every 2 or 3 weeks. And then you've got intermediate guys, they might change up their program every 6 or 8 weeks. And then you've got like complete novices, you know, like mom and dad who are just getting into it. Heck, you could write out a few exercises and have them do it for 12 to 16 weeks and they'd make gains. So it all depends on how experienced you are. That's what's going to dictate at what rate you change your program. So the next question goes to Johnny May. He says, hey Vince, I'm a big fan, sir. What about working their smaller forgotten muscles like the neck, forearms, and obliques? Are there specific neck exercises? Do you suggest higher reps, lower weights for the forearms? Do you ever work the obliques separately or just throw them in with abs? Thanks, keep up the solid work. I never just throw something into a workout. That's the first thing you can learn from me. This is a really rookie approach. I'm just gonna throw in some abs. I'm just gonna throw in some calves. If you've ever thought like that, I'm just gonna throw in some forearms. I can tell you right now, you're not following a plan. You guys have all heard the saying, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. I think I butchered it last time. I said it backwards, by the way, last time. I don't know if you remember that, but they all called me out on that. Anyways, no, I don't just throw in those muscle groups. I plan them. So I'll have phases where I train my forearms at the start of the workout because I'm emphasizing smaller muscle groups and they may be 3-week phases. But then in the subsequent phase, I'll put the forearms at the end of the workout because they just had an opportunity to go first. So now I'm training them at the end of the workout. So I'm alternating. When I train my abs, I always train my abs in a specific sequence. I go from lowers to when I obliques, I'm doing rotational work, and then I'm training the upper abs, so more like trunk flexion and that. So there's a sequence that I train the abdominals, and the logic behind that is I train the muscles from the weakest to the strongest. For me, I'm weakest on hip flexion exercises, then rotational exercises, and then trunk flexion exercises. So there's never anything ever thrown in. As far as the neck goes, I don't do a lot of specific neck training. If I was a wrestler or a fighter, I probably would. I do a lot of shoulder work and shrug work. Minimal amount of shrug work, I should say, which I've never had any neck injuries, but that is a good question. Last question for today from our great buddy Trevor Olson, and Trevor actually is a great contributor here to YouTube and Facebook. You've probably seen him answer a lot of my questions, and you know, Trevor does that on his own accord. I want to thank you, Trevor, for you know, just being such a helpful guy and wanting to help everybody who shows up here. So hats off to you, my friend. It doesn't go unnoticed. So Trevor wanted to say, today I was reading about keeping weights closer to the body for more control over them. They used the front lateral raise as their example, showing arms fully extended. Now, would having your arms bent at 90 degrees provide the same, if not optimal, firing of muscles due to more control of the weights? Or would it compromise the shoulder and cause injury? Thanks, Vince. Keep it up. So, good question. Front lateral raise. So here's how this would work. So if we're doing a lateral raise with our arms straight, there are 4 different axes that are going to be experiencing force. That force is going to be going through the wrist, the elbow, and the shoulder. So the further the resistance is from the primary axis that we're stressing, the harder it'll be. So this is why a lateral raise like this will be harder than a lateral raise like this. Now what happens when we do a lateral raise like this? We've just created 2 lines of resistance. So we have a line of resistance pressing us down this way. And we also, because remember there's resistance here, we now also have an additional line of resistance pulling us internally. So essentially we've created 2 different lines of force, which is going to create absolutely a different kind of stress on your shoulder. This is actually an awesome way to do lateral raises. You're going to be able to overload them more. But realize that there's also internal rotation of your shoulder. So if you've never done this before, a lot of you guys are going to compensate through your traps. Some of you guys are going to go like this. And if you're not aware of that, yeah, you could cause an injury. So again, every exercise, remember, your body does not understand exercises. Exercises are just some name some random dude gave them. Your body only understands lines of force and tension. So yeah, these are good questions, Trevor, and this is the kind of stuff we dive deep into at the Hypertrophy Max boot camps, where we can actually work with you and we can teach you the biomechanics of different exercises. But that's a great question. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Those are really good questions, by the way. I think this is one of the best batch of questions we've ever had. So way to go, guys. If you want to continue your own education, what I've just done is created 3 quizzes. So for those of you who've been watching the show for a while, you want to test your nutrition, your supplement, your training knowledge, go to Vince Del Monte Fitness right now. Stop what you're doing, open up a new browser, type in Vince Del Monte Fitness right now. Go to my site, you're going to see 3 rotating offers. Pick the quiz that you're most interested in, take it, test out your question, test out your knowledge. See how well you score, and I'll give you a score and then I'll give you the answers afterwards. And I'm a big believer in the more you know, the more you grow. So educating yourself is really important. That's why you're here. So pat yourself on the back, and I'm looking forward to doing this again with you very soon. Take care, guys.